Hi all. We didn't have a chance to work a problem like 104 in class, and it is a good problem that I would like you to be comfortable with using some features on your graphing calculator. It says, or it asks us if there is a relationship between wine consumption and deaths from heart disease. And the table gives some following data. So it gives us 19 different countries just labeled A through S here. And the X variable is indicating the liters of alcohol drinking wine per person per year. And then the Y variable is the deaths from heart disease per 100,000 people per year. So there's trying to see if there's some relationship connection between the amount of alcohol and wine a person drinks per year and the heart disease rate. Well, we're going to try to get this paired data statistically defined on our calculator. Anytime you're using stats on the calculator, you'll hit the stat button. So I go stat, and I'm going to enter in on enter, and you should see your stat editor come up here. So mine's already cleared. If yours wasn't cleared, you'd need to arrow to the top and hit clear and enter. So I'll go ahead and start putting my information in here. The L1 I'll let be the X variables, which are the first ones mentioned. So I'll say, okay, 2.5. And then 3.9. So we go ahead and just put all of these in together. It is kind of a long list, and you need to make sure you don't make an entry error on any of them. Okay, so finally I have all 19 entered in, and I know I do have 19 entered in because it's telling me that the next entry would be the 20th entry. So I'm going to arrow over to the right using the right arrow key. Takes me to column L2. And L2 I'll put for all the Y values the deaths per 100,000 people per year who had heart disease. So I can see that in the first column it's 211, and then 167, 131, 191, 220, 297, 71, 211 again, 300, 107, 167, 266, Okay, guys, so finally I have all of the information entered in and the paired data corresponding. It's asking us to use a scatter plot to draw the scatter plot of the data. Okay, no problem. So first thing I would like to do before I see the scatter plot even is to see how this data fits a line. So we do that by hitting Stat. You'll arrow over to Calculate. So I hit right arrow. Excuse me. And you'll see number 4 here says linear regression. I'm trying to see if there is a direct relationship between these two variables. So I'm going to choose number 4. I want to see if there's a linear relationship. And I just hit enter. So this shows me the line that would fit the data if the data fits the line. But I'd kind of like to see the data displayed. So what I'll do now is hit y equals And once you're on the y equals screen, I want all of my equations for now cleared out. I'll arrow up to plot 1, and I'm going to hit enter on plot 1. And in fact, just to make sure that your plot 1 is entered in correctly, it might be a good idea to hit second y equals to go to the setup of your plot 1. Once you get this set up, you're not going to have to go into this each time. But all I did is I hit second y equals. I've already turned plot 1 on. Now I'll arrow down, and the type of graph I would like to see is a scatter plot graph. That is the first choice there. So everything's fine. The X list, it knows to pull from L1. The Y list, it knows to pull from L2. And the mark, it really should be this first one. The dots don't show up. You don't see them hardly at all. And, well, the plus signs are okay. I just always prefer the squares. So my plot 1 is set up correctly. So now, if I want to see those plots, let's go to your zoom button. And you know that we just entered in statistics into the calculator. We entered in the X variables representing the amount of wine drunk, and the Y variables representing the number of deaths from heart disease. Notice if you scroll down or scroll up, either way, you'll notice zoom 9 is the zoom stat button. It automatically has your calculator display any statistics you've entered in the L1, L2s. So I'm going to hit zoom 9, and everything should be fine. Yes, okay. So notice this data here. Here's my data, and I can say, well, what can I see about this? Does it look like it would fit a line? Well, we found a line that modeled the data. It doesn't look like all these points would fit a line exactly, but it does look like a line could fit through it. I'll go back to y equals, and let's see how that line fits through it. We've already calculated, you'll notice on our home screen, I'll go ahead and do it again just to be sure. Stat, arrow over to calculate, choose number 4, enter. This is our regression line. This is the line that should fit all of those points that you see in there. So I have the negative 22.9687 plus 260.56337. So you can just memorize that number or write it down and then type it into Y1. Or a superior way is to go to Y1 and then hit variables, VARS. We used statistics, so arrow down to number 5 or just hit number 5. And then what do we want? We want an equation. Notice that's right here, EQ. So arrow over to equation. We want a regression equation. It's the linear regression equation. So I'll hit enter on regression equation. And notice it types it into Y1. Now, on this version of the 84, your 84, it might have went down to a second or third line. This one, it tries to fit it all in one line, and it just doesn't show you the whole equation. That's okay. But it typed the regression equation in for me. Now, if I go back to my graph, notice we see all of those points, and we see the regression line going through the points. So now we have the scatter. So we've done part A. We've typed it in and got the statistical paired data shown. Use a scatter plot capability to draw a scatter plot of the graph. Done. Select a linear regression option. So our linear regression equation, if I just ask you what is the linear regression equation, that's on the home screen. Remember, we went stat, calc, number 4, and enter. And our linear regression equation was y equals ax plus b. This is in the form negative 22.96, I'll go 877 x plus 260.56338. that should be more than enough decimal place accuracy. So we have our regression equation that models the data, and then it says use the appropriate sequence, consult your manual to graph the regression equation on top of the points. Okay, so we already have that on our graph. I might ask a follow-up question and ask you to predict something like, for example, if I said in a given country, predict how many deaths per 100,000 people if the amount of wine consumption per year is, let's say, 2 liters. So you'd say, well, it's just a function where y is a function of x, so y equals f of x, and I'm giving you an x value of 2 liters of wine per year, so you just have to find f of 2. Notice you could just plug 2 into the function that you have above. That would give it to you. You could also go to your graph up here and hit trace. When you instantly hit trace, you're on the individual stat points. You'll notice it says x equals 2.5, y equals 211. That's just our very first one right here. The next one will be the 3.9167 if you arrow to the right, and it is. But if you arrow down, it takes you to the regression equation, which is the prediction equation. You can enter in any x value you want. You can say, well, for example, I said if the wine consumption was 2 liters per year, how many deaths per 100,000 people would you expect? And in this case, it's giving us 214.6284. So I can say, well, approximately 214.626. And this would be deaths per 100,000 people per year. So you just get the idea of how to predict the data, assuming that there's a correlation between this amount of wine consumption and heart health or heart deaths per 100,000 people. Hope this clears it up. If not, please let me know.